Hello, lovely viewers. This is the real Cassie Belle, and I'm here for a different reason today, other than Astro. That's right, I've decided to start a new series. It's a DPS series, and it's called I Want to Learn Red Mage. But this is just the intro video, so don't worry. Nothing too complicated in this video, because we're just starting out. Now, there's 4 jobs that I feel confident teaching people. Well, Astro, Red Mage, Paladin, and Monk. Well, Bard more so than Monk, but Bard is pretty easy to play anyways, so yeah. I would make a Paladin guide, but a friend of mine, G-Dog Casey, already has one. I'll put the link to that video in the description below. Should I start with the fascinating story of Red Mage? No. Sorry. I know you guys don't want to hear that stuff. So, okay, let's start with the basics of Red Mage, like for example, how to unlock it. So you'll start your Red Mage journey here in Ul'dah, specifically the Steppes of Thal. This is the market market section, and there's going to be a quest down over here in this wing. It's not here now because obviously I've already unlocked it. And there will be a little girl that's going to be standing right here in this area, right here. She will be giving you the quest called Taking the Red, and from there you'll go to Blackbrush in Central Thanalan, which is right here, and you're going to go to the tavern right here, the Coffer and Coffin, and that's where the trainer's going to like buy you a drink or hit on you or whatever. And you're going to get your job crystal and your starting gear from that section. And unfortunately, you'll have to teleport back to the city of Ul'dah just to open the gear coffer that he gives you, but that's fine, it's whatever. Now, to completely unlock Red Mage, you need to have another class that's level 50 or higher, and it doesn't matter what they are. They could be, like melee DPS, they could be a healer, whatever. It doesn't matter, as long as it's level 50. And, of course, you also have to have Stormblood installed on your computer, which is a no-brainer, considering it's a Stormblood job. I would also like to point out that you do not have to do the Red Mage job quests, because they don't give you new abilities. You will already have all of the abilities that you need already in your your spell book. But of course you really should do them, because at level 70, the very last level that you do, or the level cap, you get some cool looking artifact gear from your level 70 job quest. I don't think as Red Mage you get one for your level 60 job quest, but that's okay, you don't have to worry about that. And besides, you get free gil and some experience, so why not? So now that you know where to unlock it, we're going to cover some of the basic rotations and whatnot for your Red Mage, okay? And that's coming up next. Okay, so the most important part of your job is, of course, your job gauge. And I've made it nice and big here on my screen, this big black one right here. Now, Red Mage uses both white mana and black mana spells. White mana, white magic spells fill the white section of the bar, and black magic spells fill, of course, the black side of the bar. I mean, it's gonna look blue, but it's, you know what, it's definitely not white, so you know what it is. Your white mana spells are going to be this one, Ver Arrow, and Ver Stone. Those are your two main white magic spells that you'll use to increase your white mana bar. Now, and your black spells are going to be Ver Thunder and Ver Fire. And you can kind of see a pattern here. Thunder, Fire, those sound a lot like black mage spells, don't they? And Arrow and Stone, I wonder where those come from. Anyway, so it's really, really important and to keep your gauge balanced. It's because if your bar becomes unbalanced, it'll just make it harder for you to cast your spells. It's like for example, you see how I'm only casting white spells. You can see my white bar is going up. And you can see I have 0 for my other bar. Okay. Now, don't worry if you're gonna have don't worry if you feel like you're gonna have trouble keeping track of what spells you've casted, because your bar will do it for you. So you can see the little diamond up there at the top is white. You don't want it to be white. You want it to be red. So if it's white, that means you're using too many white spells. So we're going to make it balanced now. And I'll go over the rotations and whatnot, but anyway. So as you can see, it's just harder for me to... There we go. So you noticed it was really hard for me to obtain black mana because my bar were unbalanced. So you definitely don't want that. So don't worry. So I mean, it's you really have to pay attention to what spells you're casting. So like when you cast one spell, I'll show you. So when you cast one spell, this job makes it really easy to cast spells. So you see I've got this little purple thing on my bar. It's called Dual Cast, and that makes your next spell instant, like that. So I'll show you again. And I cast one of my spells. It doesn't matter or what. And now I got a Dual Cast. So my next spell is going to be instant. And the best way to take full advantage of Dual Cast is to use this default spell, which is called Jolt. And then you can just cast them. Because, as you can see, look at that. Ver Arrow and Ver Thunder have really long cast times. So, even though you do get dual cast for the next spell, it really takes away from your DPS if you hard cast Ver Arrow or Ver Thunder before the other Ver spell. So you really want to use Jolt. That way you can easily cast your long spells much quicker. And but Jolt also increases your gauge. It increases your gauge by 3, I believe it is. Yeah, you see, my white gauge went up by 3 from 96 to 99. So Jolt increases your gauge by 3, whereas Ver Arrow and Ver Thunder increase it by 11. Ver Stone and Ver Fire increase it by 9. So Ver Arrow and Ver Thunder are probably the ones that you're going to use a lot more. Unless you get like a Ver Thunder, or not a Ver Thunder, excuse me, but a Ver Fire or a Ver Stone. Anyway, so Jolt and Jolt 2 are filler spells. And you need, so to recap, you'll use Jolt or Jolt 2 to get your dual cast for Ver Arrow or Ver Thunder. And then Ver Arrow or Ver Thunder can proc Ver Stone or Ver Fire, respectively. And you can see right there I have a Ver Stone proc, so I can use that. And you can't cast Ver Fire or Ver Stone without Ver Arrow or Ver Thunder. Now, Red Mage does have other filler spells as well. Well, but these filler spells that I'm going to talk about, they don't fill your gauge, so they're useless for doing that. But they're not useless for DPS. There will be times when your spells are on cooldown. I'll show you right here. And see, I have enough time between my spells that I can cast either Flesh, which is this one, or Contra 6. Sixth. Oops, that is not it. Excuse me, that is not the right spell. Contra 6 is that one right there. So, Flesh, and that's actually how you pronounce it, Flesh. Because it's fun fact, Flesh in French means arrow, and if you think about it, that does kind of look like an arrow. Contra 6, I don't know what that means in French. I know Contra means against, and 6, I guess, is 6? I don't know. Anyway, so those are good. So both Flesh and Contra 6 are good uses for in-between spells, so that you can still keep your DPS up. Let's talk openers. There's two kinds that I've seen Red Mages use. Excuse me. And this is for like the caster section. So you will either start with Jolt or Jolt 2, depending on your level, and you'll just go into your casts, which you want to swap between Ver Arrow and Ver Thunder for your procs, and it doesn't matter which one you start out with. Or another way I've seen Red Mages do, primarily in boss fights and raids, is that while the tank is in the process of pull, as the tank is about to pull, you'll hard cast either Ver Arrow or Ver Thunder. Here. And that's another way. I personally don't do that, really. I always start off with Jolt. Not like that, but I usually start off with Jolt, and then into my white to black or black to white combo. But I can understand why other Red Mages do it like that, because you get a little bit bigger jump, because they increase, because Ver Arrow and Ver Thunder increase your gauge more so than Jolt does. But it's up to you guys how you want to open up with. So we've talked about the casting part and how to fill up our gauge. So now that you can see, our gauge is completely full, and that's really what you want to wait for. The minimum, I would say, is about 80 to 90. And you'll find out here in just a second. So now that we have a full gauge, let's talk about spending that gauge. Yes, that's right. You spent all this time in, filling up your gauge, so now you gotta spend it. So here's how we're gonna spend it. We're gonna back up a little bit, first of all, and we're going to use this spell right here, which is Corps. And Corps in French means body to body, and I'll show you why it means that. So you go straight up to your target, and then you can start doing melee damage with it. And right now I'm just kind of poking it, but so you want to do your melee combo, which you start off with Enchanted Riposte into Zwercho, and then last is Redoublement. And to end it, you hit this spell, which is called Displacement, and that'll catapult you way back. A lot farther than where you started, but you know. And as you can see, my gauge has now gone all the way down because I've spent pretty much most of it. It looks like I spent about 80 because I was at full percent, which is full 100. So your melee combo costs you roughly 80 mana, or 80 white and black mana. So you'll want to, so like I said, you'll want to make sure that at the bare minimum you have 80 in your job gauge. Now there's another type of melee spell that you can use, and it's a conal attack, and I'll show you what that is right now. By the way, you probably want to use Corps whenever possible, but this is your conal, your AoE attack, or at least one of them anyway. You have another one which is called Scatter, and I'll show you what that looks like. Oh, it's spiffy. Watch. It's so spiffy. Alright, so here's the melee AoE, which I guess it's not really an AoE, it's more like a conal attack, but anyway, it costs about 30 black and white mana to use. So you'll want to have, to get the most out of it, you'll want to have at least 90 to do that, and to get like a really good DPS of it. I don't have that right now, but I'll show you it but this is just for demonstration purposes. So your conal attack is called Moulinet. There we go. That's how you pronounce it, Moulinet. I took French. I know what I'm talking about. And this is what it looks like. Woo! Now, that was the regular version. Now you can use your melee attacks outside of, you know, your gauge. If your gauge is not low enough, you still can use your attacks. They'll still combo like normal, but they cost, as you can see, they don't really do as well. And it's also a lot slower, as you can see. See, your cooldowns are much slower if you don't have your gauge. When you have enough mana in your gauges, it's a lot faster. So yeah, you can do that, but it's really not efficient in terms of DPS. It really isn't. Now as you can see, there's like a ton more spells that I could talk to you about, but I'm not going to. These are just the basics right now. So what I just said is basically the most basic of rotations, and in the next video I will demonstrate them in combat in a dungeon. And so let's kind of end off the video a little bit with the role actions that you'll probably want. You always, I cannot stress this enough, you really will need diversion as a red mage, and the reason is both red mage and samurai have the same sort of problem, is that they're so OP that they take away aggro very easily from the tanks. So I really strongly recommend that you have diversion, because it reduces your aggro generation. And I recommend that you put it, that you turn it on just before the tank starts pulling stuff. Especially if he's doing like a big giant pull, you'll want to pop that really quick, because I mean it takes away from your poor tank, and red mages don't make good tanks. I'm just saying. The next one you'll probably want is lucid dreaming, and you'll probably remember this if you've seen my Astro videos. Lucid dreaming, of course, regens your mana. It also reduces your aggro by half, so that's pretty good. And you'll definitely. But now in terms of mana, red mages are actually pretty good with mana. They don't really use too much mana unless, you know, the fight is lasting a long time and you're rezzing a whole bunch of people. But that comes much later in the game. You don't get your own raise until level 64. So, another one is, I would say, Swift Cast. But look, you don't get dual cast for your troubles. So you can't use dual cast if you have Swift Cast. That would probably be a way too OP. So you can have it if you want it. I would probably pair it with your raise ability, but again, that's for later on down the line. I personally would very much recommend Mana Shift, primarily in raids, because mana is not an issue for red mages, and you may find time where one of your healers is low on mana, and you can literally Mana Shift, literally, like it says, transfers some of your maximum MP to another party member, and I would strongly recommend giving it to the healers, obviously. Probably not Black Mage or Summoner, really, or other red mages, just because, like, Summoner and Black Mage, for example, they're pretty darn good about their MP management, so I wouldn't worry too much about them. It's the healers that will probably appreciate it more. And if you use Mana Shift, you'll probably more likely to get commendations. For the last one, I personally have Drain. I don't know why, but I guess it's because for the heal. Because if you use Drain, a portion of the damage that you were given, that you dealt, is given to you as health. So I guess you can use that. Realistically, for you guys personally, I would suggest either Addle, which lowers the target's intelligence and mind, or this one right here, the blah 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 blah. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I can pronounce French words just fine, but made up really weird words, it's kind of hard. But yeah, probably either one of those, if the fight has a lot of, foes that use magic. Because this one reduces a party member's magic vulnerability. This one lowers intelligence and mind, which are the two key things for magic attacks and healing. So probably either one of those two, or drain, if you want to, have an extra way to heal yourself before you get your own healing spell at level 54. Or erase. I would say erase too would work. This is kind of like Wanderer's Paean, which is what bards have. It removes a single damage over time effect from a party member other than yourself. You can't use it. It also heals a little bit. So erase, addle, this Doodly Hopper, or drain as your final roll action. So yeah, that's about it for. I think that's about it. We are gonna wrap up this video. I really appreciate you guys. He's doing this, taking the time to see my videos. And in the next video, we'll cover. We'll go into. I believe it's. Let's see. We'll go into. Obviously, we won't go into a level 50 dungeon. I don't think. So we'll probably go into this one, Dusk Vigil, and this will be our combat training as a red mage. So we will see you then, and I will leave you with my adorableness. Until next time, viewers, take care.